Okay, building the future of modern work. Thanks for having me today. I'm hopefully going to share you some stories and some insights on how we are trying to build the future of modern work. I think we heard from Kelsey, about collaboration and about how we don't know, like the future is now. The future is the actions that we take now. And if we talk about practices and we talk about ways of working, and there's some software and some platforms in there that help. I'm going to share you some stories about how we're doing that I hope you can take away and learn something from. So we're going to go on a journey. Build the future. What's the future? Let's see about what is the now. Where are we now? So there was a state of teams report. We do it annually. 4,000 respondents. 3 key areas came out that said the now, the problems of the now. Productivity, like everyone hears it, I'm sure, like low productivity. What about productivity without burnout? Alignment to goals. This second one, this tracking of progress to goals, is really one of the ones that rings very important to me personally, because if you don't know why you're doing something or what you're doing, like less than half of people really know what or why they're doing. And stakeholder management. So many teams, so many people. How do we just deal, like the burnout factor of dealing with that? So that's current work in some respects, and you may have different experiences, or some of this may resonate. So what's modern work? If we were to try and describe what would feel good, we know why we're doing it. We know purpose. We know the teams that we work well with, like Kelsey's point, like what's wrong with the collaboration now? And of course, productivity, right? More with less, but more without burnout, right? Productivity without burnout. I think there's a really key thing that I want to level set on, both personally and from an Atlassian perspective, is that going from and to modern work is an evolution. It's the actions that we take. It is not the silver bullet. Go and buy all the Atlassian platform and you'll be there, right? It's an evolution and it's your journey. But we have to touch that LLMF, I can't say it. You did it so well. LLL elephant in the room. Atlassian. I stand here saying this is an Atlassian viewpoint. We see a future of human and artificial team members. Why is that? Because they both bring something to the party. Do not underestimate human intuition. Intuition is not a guess. Intuition is you know something, you sense something based on your experience and your knowledge. And very quickly you can form a viewpoint, which may be an LLM, which can look at billions of parameters, can validate and can soak up a fair amount of energy doing it. But there is a complementary thing there. Nothing like a human has intuition that can work as effectively as it can. What happens if we don't know? What happens if we don't have a data set? If we don't have a data set, humans are actually quite strong. LLMs, less so. There is a role for us both. We see a future of human and computer teams. This whole concept of bringing this transformative technology, I want to just pause for a moment. And Kelsey took us back to Ruby on Rails and Hadoop. There's a story I've told a number of times, and I've told it in every other location but London. And this story, it resonates with me because it's a great story about a team. But it's a great story because it happened, the actual work happened just a few streets away by Old Street, a place called the Tavistock Institute. And let's just set the context. Technology influence on ways of working. British coal mines, 1940s and 50s. We need a productivity increase. It's the post-war era. We need to be more productive. And there was a whole approach, which I'll tell you about, that took place to raise that productivity. But a team came together, an awesome team. And the reason why this resonates is that this team here, cross-functional team, you got a sociologist, Trist, psychologist, Fred Emery, and Bamforth was a coal miner. 18 years he'd been a coal miner, right? Emery is the guy I resonate with because he's an Aussie. He came over from Western Australia. He studied here in the Tavistock Institute. He went back. I stayed 25 years later, still here. But what did they do? So they went and looked at what was going on in productivity in the coal mining industry. And the big change was going from hand-gotten method to longwall method, which is where technology and machinery comes in. The hand-gotten method was all about a team that would have specific roles. There was a person that did the cutting of the coal. There is a person that would put the roof up where the coal had been dug out. And then a super important role, what they call the carrier of the coal that would take the coal out. And they would self-select. They had the skills would pass between the teams. They would select who was going to join the team. They would try and aim for the best section of coal, the softest section of coal to collect. And if the coal was really hard, they would self-decide in terms of their goals about how hard they will work. This is a dangerous place. You're in the dark. Right? It's dangerous. You're relying on your teammates, on knowledge, on skill. They have craft pride, execution independence, and multiplicity of skills. There is, of course, more than one team involved. There is multiple teams, but they are essentially autonomous. They are making decisions based on what they see and how they are executing. There is not a huge amount of intermediate management and layers over the top. Then technology transformation comes along. Big cutting machines, big tracks and rails for how you can move things out. And this is brilliant because we can now get engineering metrics. We can get productivity metrics. We can do mathematics about how much coal we can get at how quickly. Brilliant. Let's break the roles down. We don't need as many roles because the machine's going to do more. So let's break the roles down. Let's actually pay them differently per role and not by team as well. And that way, we're going to not just make more coal, but it's going to cost us less, and it's going to be brilliant. And what Bamforth, Emery, and Triss found was that they disrupted the social construct or the collaboration of the unit. And so, in fact, because the roles were separated and they didn't work together, the goal was different. They had different goals. They wouldn't care about the following shift. Motivation went down. Absenteeism went up. A stoppage, when you have a huge, big, longwall mining system, a stoppage for just 1 hour would cause many hundreds of tons of delay. And they actually proved that, in fact, it was less productive. And their job that they did just down the road was to come up with ways with how could they transfer learnings from the hand-gotten method into the longwall method. The ship had, to many extents, sailed. There was a real problem with the longwall method. Firstly, intermediate management. Because you separated all the roles and broke the independence, you had to bring a lot more management in. Unions became very powerful and very big. They managed what used to be a team unit that would connect holistically with representation on the top. And the other thing is this machinery, these cutting machines, the rails, etc., hugely expensive upfront investments. So they're too big to fail. You've put too much money into building this in mechanical technological productivity improver. And so I won't go into exactly, we know where there's a whole story off to the side about what happened with British coal mines, but, not as fast, not as productive overall. And what I want to just pause on for a moment, the takeaway here, when you look at an innovation in a work system, the takeaway here has a technical content and a social content. And that's really the key message, that when we look at building the future of modern work, how do we mix the social and technical content, especially in the context of AI, to improve the way we work, improve our own happiness, productivity, alignment to stakeholders, and of course, a better planet in the process. So I'm going to share some stories, 3 stories about 3 key elements that we are seeing in when we're building a modern work culture that are working for us, right? And I won't quote lots of data, there's stories, what we're doing. I really hope it gives you some ideas and some discussion that we can have later on as well. Social and technical content in building and future of modern work. Empowerment of teams. So we know productivity is a big main issue. Empowering teams to make decisions, like our teams in the mines being able to execute. Decision-making, bottlenecks in decision-making, bottlenecks in escalation. we have done a lot in terms of ourselves as we have grown. How do we make decision making closer to where those that can act on it? And we've come up with a very basic framework. And that basic framework is, as a team, when do you make a decision that you can just execute on? Because, not all decisions are equal. So what are the ones that you can execute on? You drop a Slack message, it's just within your team. You tell them tell the team what's going on. Maybe there's a bit bigger decision that has some risk involved in it. And we maybe need to communicate more broadly, publish a page, have some discussion on it before we execute it. And then there's the game changer, something that's going to actually change a whole business. And you might want to run a more formal process. And that more formal process, so, you decide, the team decides, or indeed the whole organization decides. That formal process, we call it a DAISY, decision, the actual driver of the decision, the approver, the informed, and the contributors. A really simple model. And an example of where we use this inside Atlassian is we had a native Jira Mac app. For various reasons, we had to decide if we would continue it or not. And visibility of a decision is a very common thing in an organization. You can disagree and commit. You need visibility of decisions. So a DAISY is formed. The roles are very clear. People can see who is involved. Knowing your role is a very important part of modern work. But this team in particular, no one's in for hours of documentation, but being clear on what options people have looked at, the potential impacts, including the impacts on the team. I mean, the scrolling of the demos too fast, but they talk about negative impacts on the team when you discontinue the app. What are they going to do next, etc. A really powerful way of having sort of people inclusive in where we're going on what we're doing. I will now pause and say, what about the technical content? I've just said we're going to have AI and human team members. What does that look and feel like? Making decisions. Can AI help us make decisions? A real example we have here where we're looking at our decision to continue the Jira Mac app or not. And we're asking essentially an AI team member, what do you think of this decision? Is it well structured? Is it well thought out? And we are using a elephant with knowledge of decisions in our organization to say, actually, yeah, you've documented quite well, but maybe, I'm trying to think what we've picked out. You haven't specified who the, driver is. The driver's missing. You got to have a driver. Who's the person driving this? Wouldn't put that in front of the boss without being clear on driver. Okay, thanks AI teammate. That really helped. And that's the first example when we say AI and human teammates of we've got a team and we've said, could you get someone who's really good on decisions just to come in and take a look at this? Okay, it's a Rovo agent. You heard from Erica earlier, Rovo, that's what it is. And what we perceive, so we called it a decision director. But what we're really talking about is we call AI teammates are specialists or assistants, right? Like for a routine task, you want an assistant. Please, could you remove all these feature flags for me at this time? Tell me when it's done. Or maybe you need maybe it's not a decision director. Maybe it's get me a business analyst who really knows this compliance guidelines and can help me understand what this decision's about. So we say assistant or specialist. And I say this to think, as you bring AI in as team members, what role are you giving them? What is their purpose? Where do they fit? How do they form up in your team? Right? We are engaging in that process of building human and computer teams. By the way, not everything in Atlassian you have to pay for. I mean, I know Kelsey set us up there as a great software slinger. This is a publicly available for free practice. We live it, we breathe it. DAISY is actually an industry term. It wasn't invented by Atlassian. We truly live it and breathe it. And the collaboration of who gets involved, what you do, freely available. DAISY Play, Atlassian Playbook. If you don't know about it, jump on it. It's really, really powerful and we genuinely use it every day. Empowered teams. I started there because I believe in teams and there is no greater connection when you get a good team. Empowered teams, got to empower them, right? It's just, we can't lose that as the wave of technology washes over us. Then most people in this room I know probably work in organizations where there's more than one team, right? And getting teams to work together and to collaborate, this is the secret sauce. How can we help unlock whole organizations, teams to work together, connected teams? There's an org chart. you're in this department. We all know that's kind of okay, right? I know whose boss is who. That's great. But actually, work flows across an organization and it's constantly evolving and it's changing, right? And it's adapting to that. And how do teams adapt to that causes cognitive load? It's a really hot area for us because, like, you have to move as a whole. You can't just move as one team or indeed one individual, right? AI productivity, it's going to make your productivity great. Excellent for the person. We need everyone to move forward because of this. So how do we do it? We talk about networks of teams. The first thing we do is we start to identify, and thinking of that inner source example that Kelsey was talking to, like, who are all the teams we collaborate with? And so we just start by laying out who all the teams are that we collaborate with. We use some color coding to say, are they a software team? Are they like a service team, a support team? Are they like a leadership team? Just lay the land out for me. And then what we start to do is we go, okay, we've got the lay of the land, but then which ones are really, really important to our success? And we start to sort of organize by importance of who do we really depend on to have a good relationship with to be successful. And we actually get quite, dare I say the word, deterministic about this. We say pick 5. This is the fun bit. Pick your 5 most important teams that are going to be critical to your success, your goals. And once you've got those 5, have a really hard conversation. Do we talk to these people? Do we coordinate with them? Do we have a healthy relationship with them? Do we even know who they are? Do we want to maybe improve that or get it better? And so that drives, like, we do this quarterly or 6 monthly, run this process to come back and say, okay, have we improved our relationships? Now, I've run this many times, and I've run it virtually and I've run it face to face. Works really well in like quarterly, 6 monthly cycle. Excellent. Both are as good as each other, but there's one thing that always stands out to me. This outer perimeter, like, you ask a group of teams, sit down on a piece of paper, what teams do you work with to be successful? I am blown away in modern work just how many teams there are. And you look at it and you go, no wonder everyone's burning out. Oh yeah, but there's this team and there's that team and there's this team and there's that team. It is really tough out there. And I can't help but think, I've put these AI team members on the outer banks. I don't have the data. I don't have the exact story to show you right now. I'm a solutions engineer. I get a lot of questions every day from a lot of different people. I am building a sort of a Chris, I'm not going to call it a Chris agent, solution engineer agent, so that other teams that are not in my sphere of critical importance can still have access to me or how I think, what I know, my knowledge, so that they can be progressive without necessarily having to come to me and reduce the cognitive load on myself. It's early days, but I will share this story next time I see you on how that's going, because that outer perimeter and using AI agents to give people what they need without necessarily raising the load is an important one. Network of teams, super cool, super fun play. You can take it like really seriously, or you can use it as an icebreaker. I highly recommend it for opening up a lot of discussion about how do we collaborate? How do we actually work? Alignment of teams. We probably should start here. I spoke about goals, goal independence, right? So we've got like our autonomous team, like our empowered teams that are connected. We're working together, but are we all going in the same direction? So alignment of teams. How do we do that? Coming back to our Jira Mac app, the true story, right? There was more than one team involved, particularly because we ended up that it was discontinued. So you've got like users that are affected. You've got to communicate. We've got marketing. We've got a whole pile of teams that were involved. How did they stay aligned across teams to achieve this? Well, they got a spreadsheet, and every day on a Thursday, they'd update the spread. It's a joke. It's a joke. I don't tell jokes as good as Kelsey. I don't. Hey, we've all lived those spreadsheets, right? I know some of the audience here has. We've all lived those spreadsheets and we've all lived those pings. Can you give me an update on what's happening with the Jira Mac app, right? We've lived it. So how are we doing it, right? First thing is common language. Got to have a common language, very simple language, and maybe to take again. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, but with Kelsey talking about reinventing the wheel, maybe we are reinventing the wheel a bit here. It is intentional. So we say common language. What is the common language? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? What will success look like? Who's leading it? And who are all these stakeholders that want to follow it and have visibility to it? No matter who you are, no matter what sort of a snowflake you are in Atlassian, those 4 things, what, why, who, how, you've got to be able to communicate it, and it's got to be visible. But then even more so, like I want to dig in and I want to understand what's happening. We simply have an update process where on a Friday, by a Friday afternoon, you got to put in 280 characters. And yes, you can put a smart link off to some data, etc. 280 characters into an update. You can see when the updates are flowing. On a Monday morning, those updates go out in a sequence. And so you get a sort of a summary view of everything that you're following and doing. You may, of course, want to dig in further, and I don't want to like go back to Kelsey and his Jira tickets being crushed by them. But yes, if you need to get all the way into Jira, you can do. You can do. So really, how do you stay up to date? How are we trying to reduce that cognitive load, increase the productivity, manage the stakeholders? Is 280 characters on a Friday, linking to other information. And that goes out, and then you get a summary on a Monday morning. This is what the summary updates look like. We do have goals. Goals are done on a monthly basis, once a month update on the goal. But what you're following, what you're seeing, what you're doing, that's what it looks like. I start my day every day on a Monday looking at these, and it just makes life so much easier, and I ping people a lot less. A little bit of reinvention, but much better. We're in alignment, and I've been right down into a project team and a project team working, but it's important, especially at a high level, to think about why and where are we going? And I just wanted to come up a little bit to like, how do we find our North Star and how do we steer our organization more generally in terms of alignment? We publish very publicly what our key areas of focus are, our focus areas are, right? And we talk about systems of work, and we obviously talk about cloud. But once they are published, we turn it into a highly visible goal hub essentially, right? And a goal hub, it's of course it's on Confluence. This is the real thing. I blurred out most of the text, but you can probably imagine what some of the things are in there. Really key discussion on practices here. What you're looking at on the left is like a senior leader, executive leadership team. How many goals should they be responsible for? Because usually in leadership teams, you find they're spread really thinly. Big topic of conversation. How many goals should a leader have? But how visible it is. So this is on, we're looking on Confluence, but I'm actually being able to check and see when a goal is updated, what's happening a goal. Most importantly, how do I know what teams I might need to collaborate with to this? And open company, no bullshit. Like, this is what drives the who's got the loudest voice. It's that competition of like, too much work, not enough capacity. You've got to be able to try and draw that line to the goal to say why something's more important than the other thing. We don't have it cooked, but it is much better than I've seen it working anywhere else. That's an end state. Oh, beautiful goals, nice OKR hub, everyone can see it, prioritize, beautiful. How do we get there, and how did our AI team members help us? This is just a sort of simple example that happens in many teams. When you're actually making good objectives that inspire people is hard. It doesn't come easily. Imagine we've been in an offsite, we've been in a workshop, we've done some post-it notes, we've got some whiteboards. And essentially what we're going to do is like, okay, done all these offsites, got shed loads of thinking from tons of people, but actually what are the OKRs going to be when that killer date comes in and says you've got to lock in your OKRs for the next fiscal year? We go in and we say, hey, could I please have an AI teammate? This particular one is called an OKR drafter. We'll talk a lot. You can feel free to swing by and see how you make these, how we give them roles, how we give them goals in terms of the actual agents themselves. We say, look at the scope of knowledge and please could you create me some OKRs based on all of this stuff? And we're not going to ship them one for one, but we are going to then be able to take them quite quickly and tune them into something that then is visible either company-wide or team-wide. Let's keep it going, right? How's our AI team member? How do we have alignment from a top, like a higher level goal to a user story? Dare I say a Jira ticket? Product requirements, another real genuine use case, which is like, okay, I know I need to be aligned, but AI teammate, you're a guru at product requirements. Could you please go and look at this goal and give me the structure of a product requirements document, boilerplated up based on a goal. So I'm going to drop a goal in here. You'll see me drop the goal link. There's a graph involved. Yes, there's a graph involved. Yes, we've done loads on our graph. It's really cool. Would love to talk to people more about it, but like a goal is a goal across the platform. And here what we get is we get a boilerplate product requirements document that is going to get all the way down to making suggestions on requirements and user stories based off the goal and everything that's in the goal and everything that went to making the goal. Just a massive accelerator and helps with consistency too. So that's we've been using a couple of virtual team members there, right? So we've had our decision director. How do we make good decisions? Is it a good decision? How do I draft goals, make really clear, well inspiring goals? How do I, turn that into a product requirement so we have alignment all the way through? One last comment just on how it all actually happens. Like, we should just pause for a moment. This is a future of work, a modern work. In sync, async, return to office, not going to go there. But what I will say is that between the conversation of in sync and async, we see async has, like the specific example, when we're talking about a goal change. So on a quarterly basis, we do a thing called rolling 4. Things change pretty predominantly. We try and set an annual plan. We set an annual plan, but things change. We run this rolling 4 process to adapt to those changes. How do you communicate those? In-person town halls, we used to. We now do what we call CEO update, founder update. And we have seen a huge, we can measure the engagement between the town halls and the updates. And it's night and day. You get a lot higher engagement async. But to keep it human, when we think about social and technical, it's not just like put a blog post out. This is an example. We call it State of Atlassian, comes out every quarter. You get obviously loads of details underneath, big long page, but you get to hear what has changed. The reminder of the goals, because you can't set and forget the goals. You've got to have the reminder of the goals, the focus areas, the things that are really changing. But what I wanted to call out most was that you get to hear the leader. You get to hear and feel the leader, and it is their job to keep communicating and drawing the pictures together at the higher level so that teams can align and teams can work out, who do I need to collaborate with to pivot and adjust? Because the faster we can pivot and adjust, the faster we can achieve our goals and stay alive in the modern world. So that's alignment, and particularly from a goal alignment all the way back to project alignment. So I don't have all the answers. That is what we're experiencing. I think these 3 elements, right? Empowered teams, connected teams, aligned teams, keeping the balance of social and technical content. Yes, we undergo, do teams get smaller with AI as we bring team members out? Yes, we're going to have to phase into all of those. But make no mistake, I firmly believe that human and AI teams together is the best combination, and how we unleash the potential of organizations is that. So I would encourage you all to go on your journey, and it is your journey. There is no doubt that there will not be one single path. And really hope to talk to you maybe afterwards. There's a small amount of time for questions. I hope I've given you some ideas or some thoughts as we go on the future of work together, the future of software. That is all I have got. Thank you so much for listening today.